Hello and welcome to the 80th episode of From Impossible to Inevitable. Thank you so much for joining me today and pushing play on today's episode. Today I have another exploratory question for you. I don't think I've probably phrased it quite that way, but I know that this podcast is full of exploratory questions. And these questions are designed or intended, I guess. Don't know that I designed them, whatever. I am intending them to help you get to the root of things. And most of the time, these exploratory questions are helping you either get to the root of how you feel or what you want or how you should move forward or whatever it is that you're experiencing, whatever the example is that I've given you in these questions. These exploratory questions are so powerful because they take us out of a reactionary state and put us in more control. If we just have a knee-jerk reaction to something that happened and then we never question our knee-jerk reaction, we are likely to have that knee-jerk reaction again when we come to that same or very similar situation again in the future. And that is just being in a reactionary state. We all have these very reactionary moments or situations where we behave and then, either we never think about it again, or maybe we're like, I wish I hadn't behaved that way. That wasn't the best way. That wasn't the most ladylike thing to do, or whatever it is. But we've got these knee-jerk reactions, and these knee-jerk reactions come from different places depending on who you are and kind of what you're predisposed to do. Most of my knee-jerk reactions come from a place of protection where I'm trying to protect myself. And so I close it off. And that's where I come from. I just close the doors. Sometimes I slam them, and those are my knee-jerk reactions. Typically, I don't tip that some people get really angry. I know somebody who her knee-jerk reaction just tends to be saying things in anger, and that it's okay. It's okay that we have those knee-jerk reactions. We can always go back, say you're sorry, make amends, and do your best to be better. And these exploratory questions are designed to help you be better. They're designed to help you there's that word again. I'm a designer. What can I say? They're intended to help you be better. They're intended to help you be a more evolved version of yourself. However you are now, I'm sure you're a great version of yourself, and there's still room for improvement. There's still room for you to grow and become better and improve how you even have your knee-jerk reactions. So I am asking you this question, this exploratory question that I would like you to pose to yourself when you are faced with a situation that bothers you. And sometimes when you walk into a situation that bothers you, you know immediately what's bothering you about it. And you can identify it and you can be like, that specifically bothers me. And there are also situations in which somebody says something and they weren't saying anything unkind. They just said something as part of the conversation or whatever, and it just bothered you. It just struck you the wrong way. And all of a sudden you're like, well, now, I was feeling fine, but then you said that, and now I'm in a funk, and what in the world? In those situations, you'd really benefit from taking the opportunity to slow down, sit down, and ask yourself, why did that bother me? Why does that bother me? What about what this person said or did or how they behaved? Why did that bother me? Why did I go from having a great day to all of a sudden feeling icky and bothered and like, why? Why did that happen? I'm sure it's not just me that this happens. I'm sure there are tons of people who encounter this situation, if not on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. And sometimes Sometimes you just shrug it off. You're just like, I don't know, let's just move on. And you try to just plow through and move on. I have a harder time doing that, which is probably why I have developed this habit of asking myself, why did that bother me? It's the most impactful to me when I've got my journal with me and I have the time and space to immediately sit down and write it out. I would say, this is what happens. I'm not sure why that bothered me. And then I write out anything that comes to my mind. Maybe it was this. Maybe it was this. Maybe it was this. Maybe it's because this happened before and now it's, this. Maybe this. And so I just allow myself to play with the possibilities of what it could be, what the root cause could be for why I was bothered in that moment. And sometimes I don't figure it out. Most of the time, I do. Most of the time, I come to it where I write, maybe it was this, and then I'm like, ugh, okay, that's why that bothered me. It's because I have this belief, or it's because I have this feeling, or it's because I have this vulnerability or this insecurity, and I'm bothered because of these things. And then when I can find what I am, like the core reason why that bothered me, say it's an insecurity. Okay, so I was bothered by that because I'm actually insecure about this, and they don't know I'm insecure about this, so they didn't say anything, to be mean. They weren't trying to rile me. And so I can just say, okay, well, this is an insecurity that I have. This is something that I deal with. What do I need to believe about myself that will make me feel like I'm doing okay? It's all right. And that will take me from that, out of that bothered state and back into a state of I'm doing the best I can. And I get bumps and bruises along the way. That's part of life. And then I can just move on. I can just go on my merry way, having solved the riddle of why that bothered me, and then fixed my mindset around that core issue of being bothered. This is a journey. The more you do this, the better you'll get at it. And the more you are willing to allow yourself to say, maybe it was this deep, dark insecurity that I have. The more that you're willing to kind of go into those shadow places of yourself, the more you will be able to find out why that bothered you, why that triggered you in that kind of way. Because sometimes those things hide out in the shadows. And those are things that we don't like to acknowledge. Those are the things that, we kind of wish weren't there. But there's always the shadow. Like, we're always going to have a shadow. And if you don't have a shadow, I would be more alarmed by that, because that means you're not shining brightly enough as a person. There's a shadow to everything. And that doesn't make the shadow bad or wrong. It's there. And we tend to not like to go into the shadow. So there's that. Then there are also similar but different situations in which you are communicating with somebody, having some sort of interaction, and then they are visibly bothered by something you said, or clearly bothered by their voice or whatever, but all of a sudden, you just accidentally tripped over a wire and now they're bothered, and you're just like, I don't know why that bothered you. And you're just like, you have your mental hands up of surrender of like, I don't know what I did, but okay. And that's a different situation. And yes, you can go into your journal and you can be like, I said this or I did this and this person was bothered and I could tell they were bothered and I have no idea why they were bothered, but maybe it was this, or this. And the thing is you're not going to get down to the root cause of it, because it's not you. You don't know what wire you accidentally tripped. You don't know, and they might not even know if they don't travel into the shadow enough. You don't know what bothered them. The point of asking yourself, why did this bother this person, isn't necessarily to help them feel any better. You can't control how they feel. They have to go and do that work by themselves, on themselves. Now you're in this defensive, oh, I'm real sorry, like surrender situation. That is deeply disempowering, and you need to get out of that. You need to get out of that emotional, like, oh, sorry, like my bad, tender-footed around everybody, you know? So your objective in exploring why this might have bothered this other person, what you said, is just for you. It's just for you. Under no circumstance do you need to go to that person and be like, were you bothered because you're insecure about this, or because of this, or because of this? No. Do not do that. If they come to you and say, I'm sorry, I was really bothered because of this, then great, you got resolution, and that's awesome. You probably won't get resolution, and that's fine. What you are doing the exercise for, either mentally or actually in a journal or whatever, is so that you can have compassion, so that you can, just be okay with the situation. You're like, okay. And maybe you don't even feel like you need to go through this exercise for somebody else, because you're not going to get down to a concrete, real core problem, and you don't need to. You can just say, there's something going on there. That wasn't about me. And I hope that everything will just be fine. Like, I hope that they will figure it out, that they will work through it, that whatever they're dealing with, they will find a resolution to it. That's what I mean by I hope everything will just be fine. I hope that they will find their own resolution, and just wish them the best energetically. You don't necessarily need to go have a confrontation about this, especially if your intentions were good in this conversation or in this exchange, and then all of a sudden, like I said, you tripped a wire and you don't know what happened, and you feel kind of like, oh, whoops, sorry. And sometimes I speak before I think about it, and I trip a wire and it's super obvious, and then I just immediately, I'm like, sorry, that was really rude, or that was really, thoughtless, or whatever, and I just confront it right then and there and make amends and everything. Don't let that fester. But sometimes that's not really the case. Sometimes you're not like me and don't just blurt things out, and you're just like, oh, sorry, that was rude. I tend to have a sense of humor that can borderline on the rude. And so I have to make amends for that a lot. And so I do that as soon as I realize how rude I was. Because I really just think I'm funny, and I'm doing it because I'm funny. But if it's not with somebody that I really know very well, it can come across as rude. Part of my charm, right? That's part of my shadow. So there we go. And I know that about myself. So then as soon as I realize it, I can immediately make amends. But that's not necessarily what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is somebody was bothered by something that you said in all innocence, or in all, just through normal conversation. You don't know why. That's okay. It's okay. Have compassion for whatever they are going through, whatever mountains they are climbing, whatever they've got going on in their head or their heart or their soul that they are struggling with, and just release it with all the best wishes and all the best energy towards that person, because that's really all you can do. Unless they open up and start talking to you about why that triggered them, or why they were bothered, or whatever, leave it alone. Just let them figure it out on their own. And trust that they will go to whoever they need to go to help them work through it. And that might not be you, and that's okay. And sometimes you don't even want it to be you, which is great. So that's what I have for you today. This exploratory question of, why did that bother me? And why could that have bothered somebody else? Why could what I have said or did, or what somebody else said or did, why could that have bothered them? And give both sides, whether it's yourself or another person, compassion, because you're working on things, you're working through things. And as you are in that process, you don't need to fill your pockets with rocks of bad feelings, of whatever. You don't have to walk around being bothered because somebody innocently said something. You don't know why you're bothered. Just figure it out, work through that, and then change your mindset of, okay, this is actually what I want to think about myself. I am a person in progress and doing the best that I can. And I can let go of what they said because they didn't even know they were tripping a wire. And that's okay. We were just having a conversation, and that happens. Okay. I hope this exploratory question is helpful for you as you go on your interactions with other people and inadvertently get bothered and inadvertently bother other people. It's part of the process. It's part of interactions. It's part of what we do. And just, we can put ourselves in the place of everybody's doing the best that they can and everybody is well-meaning. That will solve a lot of the strifes. And obviously, if somebody is being clearly unkind, you can go to the episode about dealing with the unkind and work on yourself with that. You can never change the other person. You can never change their behavior towards you, whether it's kind or not. But you can change how you take that in, how long you hold on to that, and how much you let that affect you. That, all of that is within your power. All of that is something that you can do. Thank you again for joining me on today's episode. I appreciate you and all of your love and energy that you send to me. And I wish you the best. Until next time, bye for now.